So at the end, we're all just laughing. I'm like, I thought my mum was, you know, trying to come in. Sure. Do you need to do something with it? Yeah, true. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Drives me crazy. Someone's tuned in. Okay, I like it. So good. That's perfect. All right. Namaste. Completely thrilled to be back in community in a room. Oh, feels really wonderful. We have an hour of the beautiful yin practice today, and for me, yin is the softening. You know, it's the turning in. And I've had the privilege of spending a fair amount of time in India over these past years. Well, not this last year, of course, but I remember sitting in a class and the teacher said, he said, close your eyes. It is now time that we turn inside. Right? It's such that remembering that our yoga practice is an internal practice. So you can begin with the palms down, grounding yourself. So we're in that beautiful archetype of the triangle through the hips here. The Sushumna Nadi, the central power current, the spine line that runs from the perineum all the way up through crown of the head. Let that be the remembering of our portal between heaven and earth. And I often remind ourselves that we're against gravity, right? So we want to keep this process of ascension, of expansion, of elevation as we participate in lengthening our spine. Use the earth, gently press down to rise up. You might know that you're exactly where you need to be right now. And we welcome the mind to do its thing, to be a little potentially chattery at the beginning and then be coaxed into a more spacious place. And then you can let your left fingertips reach for the ground beside you. Just gently, lightly touching, and bring your right hand to your heart and tip your chin down. I'd always like to take a moment to ground in and remember that the earth itself has a frequency that supports us. There's an opportunity here to take a moment to pay acknowledgement and respects to traditional custodians, the Bunwarang people of these particular lands. And why is that important? Well, we're really remembering those who had a thinner veil between the worlds, were able to live in harmony with the earth, live the truth of oneness. And this is the same path as the yogi. And it's certainly not the yoga isn't the only culture. And so we're here to practice the ancient sciences, and at the same time, we honor those that are alive and well here. And may we be light bearers or torch bearers in the movement towards harmony. And that begins within ourselves first. So you can bring your hands to prayer at your heart. And your intention for your practice today is simply to be at ease inside yourself. This practice is centered around heart intelligence. The heart is the space that only knows oneness, no separation. So we can invite the mind, the judgments of the mind, the ego of the mind to rest in the heart today so that we can relax the nervous system and create the space for truth to arrive and arise. And so we'll chant the sound of Om, take a breath in. Om. You can keep your eyes closed, let your hands float back to your lap, and then just begin to make circles with your head. Doesn't matter which direction you choose, keep going in that very same direction. The speed that you move your head in is totally up to you. And just let there be an acknowledgement of where you feel tension and where you feel ease. And so it goes in Taoist principle and traditional Chinese medicine theory. The season of summer is the season of the heart, right? And so it's the time that we come into connection, socializing, joy, coming into our light, our brightness. And before that can happen, of course, is what's the word I'm looking for? The excavation of anything that would otherwise have us caught up in some sort of separation. Right? And that could be just separation from our joy, or from even reaching into sensations of love or compassion. And so this practice today is one that just allows us to move gently through shapes, to release heat from the body, right? To relieve tension from the body. And in doing so, allow the mind and the body to reach a place of peace. You can change the direction of the head rolls here. And remember, the head and the heart, when they are in tune, we reach our highest potential. There's wonderful studies on this. If you've dialed into the work of Greg Braden, he's studied wisdom traditions all around the world. And he says there isn't one tradition he hasn't studied that does not have a technique to synchronize frequencies of heart and mind. Right? And so when they're singing at the same frequency, we really do open a portal to higher mind, higher health. So let your mind participate in the practice today, but not in a way that feels forced. You're just watching, observing. Add some breath, conscious breath in and out through your nose. You might even make the ujjayi sound, the ocean-like sound, and remembering sound affects our cells. And when we have a calming ocean-like sound, our cells will respond accordingly. After your next circle, you can roll your head back up through center. Just feel that swimming energy inside yourself. Let the eyes peel open into the space. Welcome. And we'll take our bolster and just move it towards the front of the mat to begin. Maybe like just a little down from the top. Okay, and more of a young setup is just to come into tabletop so we can gently move through cats and cows before we come into stillness. So you get to close your eyes and invite that inner tuition to come to the fore. Maybe you've been at a computer today or driving, and feel into where the body has somehow stored some tension for you. And then you can move into mindful release. So as always, adding conscious breath. And we all are in our own cycle and season, right? We have the grander cycles and seasons, and then we have those of our lives, right? Moving through times of challenge and lesson, back into the gift of experience and wisdom that comes from the lessons, and then the next one comes around, right? So only you know what's happening for you right now. You might choose to turn these cat and cows into more circle-like nature, rolling your head down around your hips. Right? This is this intuitive movement to begin. Be led by your body here. Right? The invitation is to move toward the tension, to expose this freedom or spaciousness. It's like when we have a massage, we ask them to go to the spot that hurts, right? Or the spot that we can feel, or the place that aches. That will have a correlation with our psychology. There will be somewhere where harboring thought consciously or subconsciously, it's creating blockages. And this is the mystery and wonder of asana, physical movement to affect the mind, just as the mind impacts the body. This is our medicine for today. As you ease back to center, your first pose will look a little something like this. You can take your knees, I like them a little wider actually to release some heat today from the groins. I'm going to place my elbows on the bolster. You can rest your head down. Some of you with a little more openness through the shoulders, you might sink the head between. You might begin with your forehead on the bolster and then inch the hips back. So it's almost as though we're hammocking the heart space here. Good. And once you create enough structure, so if we dump too much into the shoulders here, you kind of feel it. It feels a little compressed. So we can counter that by some gentle pressure onto the bolster at the side of the elbows, the forearms. And also the remembering of earth element through the shins, the thighs. So we create this wonderful container, this structure. And then we lean into the river of the breath. Breath like a broom. Let the inhales come in and excavate and go into the tighter places. And the exhales, the emptying, the cleansing, the relieving, the releasing. Right, so this place of using one of our superpowers, the imagination. We use our conscious imagery to imagine breath excavating tension. That could be tension of mind pattern. That could be physical tension. Could be emotional heaviness, if you like, disturbance. And so we simply just welcome this to the surface, to the pranayama, to the breath, for release. And for those who want a little more activation through the tricep line, you might pray your hands and reach them up and over your head towards your shoulder blades. Right? And if you test that out and it doesn't feel right for you, no worries. You'll recreate. Remember, your own inner guru is your teacher. The external voice, just an offering. If you find your mind is wandering away, or gently coax it back to the room, to the breath. And how we spend our currency, which is our energy, is related to how well we can rope the mind into the moment. So give yourself the gift of 2 more cycles of a conscious inhale and a conscious exhale. After your second exhale, if your prayer is behind your head, gently reach your arms forward. Begin to shift the hips forward enough that you can open out the front of the hips and lay your belly toward the ground. I'm just going to inch the bolster underneath my bottom ribs there. Place the hands down. Your blocks are handy. Forehead to block, forearms on ground. Softening in. There's wonderful acupressure points, as you're, I'm sure, aware of, around the eyebrow lines. There's an opportunity to gently, softly roll your head side to side here. You might feel and find a point that has some sensation that you could breathe with. It's quite natural to feel a little compression in the lower lumbar vertebrae in these postures, which is healthy if we imagine the discs between the vertebrae as these fluid sacs, and they stay in optimal health and wellness when they're squished a little, right? So we want them to be able to be squished as we move, forward and back. So our back bends and forward folds, and also our side work. But if at any time it feels like too much compression, you take the angle out by shifting the bolster forward. We're also moving the pubis bone, the tailbone, in a downward fashion toward the ground. So it feels almost like you're tucking the tail to release the angle through the low back, or the curve of the low back. And then genuinely resting your heart space on the softness of the bolster. And how well we can self-soothe, which is the sovereignty that we work through as the yogis. So once we are able to take these tools and practices to soothe ourselves, our nervous system, our mind, it unplugs unnecessary need from those around us. And so we're free to enjoy relationships without there being a push or pull or a need to be fixed or supported or helped. We're able to organically support ourselves. And then ironically, that manifests support from others as well, but it's not the first place that we go. We come into our own sovereignty. We learn how to relax and soften around our heart. And to meet the place inside where we are genuinely okay, where we're already well. The offering is to stay as you are or to come into more of a seal pose position, which simply means we extend the arms out. I like a little V angle and lift the chest up so the arms become the support here. And instead of feeling like you're pushing the ground away, bring your attention to the tops of the arm bones and plug them into where they meet the shoulder blades at the back body. So we have that natural structure that supports us well. Take a wander through your legs with your mind's eye. So you keep your eyes closed and see if you can release tension in the legs, the buttocks. Breathe deep into your belly. We're not here for too much longer. If at any point it's too much, you come back to the more Sphinx pose with the forearms down and the head resting on the block. Enjoy a couple more breaths here. Stay present, conscious. If your arms are straight, you can begin to gently bend them. Move the block out of the way. Shuffle back just a little and relax onto your bolster for a moment. If you promise you won't fall asleep. Turn your head off to one side. Just remember which side that is. You know, we're so influenced in many ways to do more, not less. And a yin practice is very much the epitome of doing less to achieve more. And in trusting that there's a flow of energy and light through our body that we maybe have the opportunity to feel, or to experience. We may not be able to see it in the visual sense. Maybe we have glimpses of that. But this is where we lean into the subtle nature of the body's wisdom, intelligence. So know that the side that your head is facing toward is the side we're about to roll onto. And so you can begin to support yourself to do that and place the underside of the ribs over the block. So you're now lying on the side. You'll have that lovely arch underneath. I've got my block here as low. And then opportunity, top arm overhead. You can hook the bottom hand, the thumb, the forefinger, just to rest on the arm there. There you go. Right, and play with the position of your head, that it's not too far back or too far forward. And that you're simply able to experience some space here through the left side of the body, if that's the top side for you. Right, and keep listening deeply. If at any point the arm up and over is too much, bring it back by your side. The benefits are still there in the side body, just the nature of the bolster helping us to achieve a more banana-like shape. And so you'll again go inside yourself. It's nice to witness our thoughts sometimes, just to see what's playing through my mind. You might be lucky to access a thought that's been maybe on repeat subconsciously, and we can bring it to the light of consciousness and have a revelation. I always encourage the hint of a smile on the face. The smile releases chemistry of ease, right? And it works whether we're feeling it or not, right? So it's one of those wonderful techniques to smile, shifts biochemistry, can shift a mood, especially if we have trouble shifting it with the mind. Right? Lean into the body, lean into the shapes. If your arm is overhead, you can gently shift that back to the side of the body and enjoy the flush of energy down the arm to the fingers, the fingertips. So enjoy the last couple of breaths here. Know that the next posture will be rolling back where we were on the belly, with the arms crossed over the bolster, and we'll turn the head to the opposite side. So you can, no, you're right. You can just roll around today. Let it feel easy. And once again, you'll check for any unnecessary tension in the body. Use the power of discernment, the yogi principle of shakshin, the witness state, to walk your third eye, your mind's eye, through the body. And when you find somewhere that seems to be holding on, we get to know our own personal habitual patterns of tension where our bodies have learnt to hold on. And in the yin practice, it's such a beautiful opportunity to practice what it would feel like to not hold tension there, what might free up in the mind, what might free up in the body. As you empty your next cycle of breath, you can entertain the shape shift to lie on your opposite side. And then you just stay very much connected to your inner environment as you roll yourself around, paying attention to how and where you connect with the earth, with the bolster, placing the limbs, placing the block, everything conscious. Whether the legs are long or slightly bent, how you place the top arm overhead, where you rest the forearm. And actioning a deeper surrender here. So surrender as an action can feel like relaxation. So be relaxed. It can often be counterintuitive. It seems obvious, yet when we're tense mentally or physically, it takes a lot to want to relax, right? We get caught in these habitual patterns of tension. They become our set point or our known point. And hopefully over time, as we continue to come to the yoga practice, come to the mat, we shift the set point from tension to relaxation. Right? We shift from doing to non-doing. Now, that doesn't mean we don't take action. It simply means that our actions are more guided, right? Less forced. When we release whatever burdens us, this experience of peace and wellness can come to the surface. And so if there is anything that you're worrying about or having concern about, and it's to bring that to the light of consciousness, to offer that up to your higher intelligence so that when you relax, you're in the space to receive information from your inner tuition, movement forward, guidance. When you're ready to release your top arm, you can slide that back by your side and enjoy the sensation of warmth, of tingling down the arm to the fingertips. Just an interesting teaching that I'll share is when I lived and taught for the years in New York, I practiced under the tutelage of a Taoist principal yoga teacher. And she had her Taoist teacher, traditional teacher, and she'd impart these little knowings as we'd go along. And this one always stuck with me, that the heart meridian actually goes right to the end of the pinky finger. And she said her teacher told her that because these meridians are lines of electricity, if we think of it like lines of light and energy, that if someone's having a heart attack, that biting the end of the pinky finger really hard is a way of resetting the electrics of the heart. And her teacher told her to tell that to as many people as she could, because you never know when you might be the one that needs to take action. So I just offer that to you. For some reason, always stuck with me that these wisdom traditions have some real medicine, right? Physical medicine, understanding this system of electrics that governs our rhythms. It's quite beautiful. And so you'll practice a deeper relaxation for another few breaths. And to describe where you're physically moving from here, we'll be right onto your back as if you're taking Shavasana. So we want to move the bolster off to the side. Keep it close by. All right, so you might place some weight into the elbow, the forearm to lift up, and then roll right over onto your back. And just lay yourself out on the earth for a moment. Relax the shoulders. Let the feeling of the arms be heavy on the earth. In the next breath or so, gently bend your knees so that the feet are on the ground. Let the feet be a little wider than the knees to the side of the mat. So you have that nice feeling of a wide sacrum in the lower back. You could even knock the knees together there. From here, in the next breath or so, you'll reach for the bolster and slide it underneath your hips. So you're in this similar shape with elevated hips. So I'm going to press into my feet, supported bridge-like pose. Take your arms as wide as feels comfortable as you move the shoulder blades down the back and widen them like a pair of hands behind your heart, and just rest there. It's a very gentle inversion, so it returns blood flow toward the heart space. You might choose to use the power of your imagination to see the fresh return of blood to the organ of your heart, and letting the heart pump this around the body. So I'm going to offer some options from here. Option one would be to extend the legs away from you. Now, this will feel good if there's no impingement in your lower back. As we lengthen the legs, it creates somewhat of a stronger lever onto the back. When we open the front of the groin space, the front of the body releases heat. This heat can be liver generated, gallbladder generated. So these more open postures are great for warmer days. Okay, but of course, each of us have our own elemental makeup. Some of us are more easily heated than others. Right, so if you find that you cool down very quickly here, closing off the hips by bending the knees will be advantageous, as will bringing the arms in a little closer. So armpits and groins are kind of our cooling system, if you like, or part of the cooling system. And your other opportunity from here is to raise the legs straight up in the air. This waterfall-like experience. And then play with the position. You might feel what it feels like to hover the feet at hips distance apart, so they feel quite weightless, and almost like that Tadasana, right, without weight. Acknowledging the feet and all they do, carrying us around all day, every day. And let them be relieved here. And so we have another couple of minutes. So here's where you could go from here. Legs toward a wide V, or even legs toward a really lazy, happy baby. And that would look like the knees bending, falling out to the sides, like kind of that position where you feel like you're doing no thing. Your arms might creep up over your head. Okay, so now it's for you to navigate the body and create the most easeful posture that you can here for your highest rest. Just literally hanging out with yourself. So with your knees bent, let the knees come back to sort of a hip's distance apart. And then as you lower the feet slowly to the earth, press the sacrum area to low back into the block. So it acts almost like a brake, helping to engage the abdominals and support the lowering of the legs. And then you'll anchor again through the feet. If the arms are overhead, let them gently return toward the side body. And so know that your final pose is Shavasana, and I recommend pressing through the feet to lift the hips and sliding the bolster behind the backs of your knees there. And if you have a blanket handy, it can feel nice to place it over the pelvis for some grounding, some comforting. Let the back of your head relax heavy to the ground so that it feels like the muscles of the neck space release. And then there's an experience of spaciousness around the throat. And check that your shoulders have surrendered their weight to the ground. The bowl of the pelvis heavy to the ground. Muscles of the abdomen soft. Muscles of the legs heavy and relaxed, as if they're just dripping from the bones there, no effort. And those heel points happily plugging you into the earth. Allow the sounds inside and outside of the room to be a pointer to go deeper into the stillness within. Stay bodily relaxed as you deepen your breath. I often say it like practice breathing without tension. Practice breathing expansively. And to know that this relaxed breathing, this spacious breathing is a true medicine for the whole of the self, physical and mental and emotional and spiritual. Keep breathing in a relaxed way as you let a smile creep on the face and just feel what that shifts energetically. Get to know when one part moves, something else happens. Bring your awareness a little more deeper into bodily form, back into the room. Let the fingers and toes gently explore the space around them. And then, as if waking from a deep sleep, you stretch any way that your body needs. Your exit strategy will be to bend the knees and roll to your preferred side. Just go intuitively with whichever that is. You can let the knees slide all the way off of the bolster to the ground. And be gentle with yourself as you come out of these relaxed and, deeper practices than maybe our mind can comprehend. And so we want to be able to bring the relaxation forward into the state of alertness of the mind so that we can safely travel home. But we keep coaxing this surrendered, this relaxed nature forward so it becomes us. When you're ready, you can gently press your way to a seat. You can land any way you like here. Bring your hands to the prayer mudra at your heart. Tipping the chin down, take a moment of gratitude for your body and for your willingness to participate in these practices. It's not just, carving out the time. Sure, that's a huge piece of it, right? But just know that some part of you is attuned to a much bigger calling. These tools and practices are ones to really open us into our potential and into our truth. And so we'll complete with the sound of Om. Let the breath come in fully. Thumbs to brow. And bowing to your sovereign self. And so it is. Beautiful. Thank you. Isn't it great just to roll around? This is